Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to making sense of the complex. You sent us T.H.E. The Human Experiment by Jason Roy Llewelyn-Miller, and we've plunged in to extract the key ideas, the surprising turns, everything you need to grasp this story without getting lost in the details.
What struck me right away about this book and what I think will grab you is the central concept. In 2035, a scientist develops the human experience, an interface that bridges human and animal consciousness through an incredibly advanced AI called Echelon. The initial chapters lay the groundwork for some truly radical shifts on a global scale, and that's what we're going to explore together.
Exactly. We've got a really comprehensive set of material here, direct excerpts from the book, chapter outlines that give us the overall flow, the opening and introduction that set the author's intentions. The table of contents is our guide to the reader section with some interesting context, and those crucial first 5 chapters that really kick things off. Your mission for us was clear. Give you the essential insights from this early material so you understand the foundational technology, the initial reactions, and the core concepts driving this story forward.
Right.
Okay, so let's dive in. Who are the central figures we need to know as this narrative begins?
Well, the story really centers around Dr. Isabelle Davenport. The book portrays her as a scientist with a singular focus, deeply immersed in human biology and the possibilities of integrating cutting-edge technology like 6G and sophisticated neural networks. We find her working in what's described as a modest lab in New York City in 2035, but this is clearly a hub of significant innovation. The author gives us a vivid picture of her. The unruly dark hair, those intense eyes that suggest a powerful intellect, even the perpetually stained lab coat. You really get a sense of someone completely devoted to her work.
It definitely paints a picture of someone whose passion borders on, well, all-consuming, right? And her driving ambition, the project that defines her, is the creation of the human experience. This interface is specifically designed to forge a connection between human and, crucially, animal consciousness. It's an undertaking on an epic scale. But she's not operating in isolation. Another key figure appears early on, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We need to talk about Echelon. This is the super intelligent AI at the heart of the system, created some years prior in the early 2020s by Dr. Edmund Harlow. What's fascinating here is the idea of empathetic coding.
Empathetic coding.
Yeah, the book stresses that Echelon isn't just about raw processing power. It has the capacity to learn, to adapt in complex ways, to truly grasp nuances, and even to pose its own questions. It's more than just a tool. It possesses a certain level of sophisticated awareness.
Wow.
And it seems Dr. Harlow himself had an early appreciation for both the immense potential and the inherent risks involved in creating an intelligence like Echelon. What's meant by empathetic coding is that Dr. Harlow designed Echelon not just to process information logically, but also to understand and respond to emotional cues, making it a more intuitive and potentially more unpredictable form of AI.
So Echelon isn't just lines of code, it's almost a character in its own right, with its own evolving understanding of the world.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it sounds like it's absolutely indispensable to Dr. Davenport's research and the very existence of the human experience. It's the advanced intelligence capable of managing and interpreting this massive influx of conscious data.
Precisely. Which brings us to the crucial technological element, the Neuro-Consciousness Interface, or NCI. This is the central piece that makes the human experience possible.
The NCI, right.
The book describes it as the technology engineered to translate the incredibly intricate neural patterns of living beings into a format of data that can be shared across a network. Essentially, it's a system that deciphers the complex electrical and chemical signals of the brain and translates them into a digital format.
A digital format that Echelon can then understand.
Exactly. That Echelon can understand and share, acting as a kind of universal translator for the mind.
It's an almost unimaginable feat, taking something as personal and internal as our thoughts and feelings and converting them into transmissible, understandable data. The book makes a point of noting the careful ethical considerations and the rigorous testing cases involved. It's clear they weren't entering into this lightly.
That's a really important detail. The introduction and the initial chapters emphasize the profound sense of responsibility felt by Dr. Davenport and her team. And the selection of their first test subject is also significant, Echo the chimpanzee.
Echo, okay.
The book specifically highlights her intelligence and her capacity for empathy as key factors in that decision. It wasn't a choice made at random,
So the key players are in place, the core technology is developed, and Echo becomes the first to cross this frontier. Chapter 4, titled First Connection, really details this pivotal moment. What aspects of that description stood out to you most?
The language the author uses is incredibly vivid. The moment of connection is described as a surge of energy, a palpable ripple that resonated through Echelon's network. It's portrayed as a truly significant event, the dawning of a new era in communication.
Wow.
For the first time, Echo's internal reality, her thoughts, her emotions, her sensory experiences were being converted into data that Echelon could process, and crucially, that the human team could begin to comprehend.
So they could actually see what Echo was thinking and feeling.
In a way, yes. What's truly insightful here is the implication that consciousness isn't a uniquely human trait, potentially forcing a reevaluation of our entire moral framework regarding other species.
It's as if they were granted a direct window into another being's inner life. The book mentions the team observing Echo's curiosity, her moments of fear, even the content of her dreams. That must have been an intensely profound experience, fundamentally challenging our long-held assumptions about the animal mind.
Absolutely. And this wasn't a one-way transmission. The book emphasizes Echelon's active role in this exchange, highlighting how the AI itself began to adapt and learn directly from the subtle complexities of Echo's consciousness.
So Echelon was learning from Echo.
Yes, it wasn't simply receiving information passively, it was actively engaging with it, constantly refining its understanding in the process. This idea of reciprocal learning is a crucial element of the human experience.
This initial success, while revolutionary, doesn't occur in isolation. Chapter 5, Echoes of Fear, delves into the immediate global reaction. It sounds like the news wasn't universally met with celebration and scientific applause.
That's a significant understatement. The book depicts an immediate worldwide response that spanned the entire spectrum. Yes, there was awe and excitement in some quarters, but also considerable fear and outright skepticism in others.
Yeah, I can imagine.
This wasn't just a scientific advancement. It struck at the very core of what it means to be human, raising fundamental questions about identity and the boundaries of privacy.
I can only imagine the widespread societal anxiety. The concept of interconnected consciousness opens up so many potential areas of concern.
Yeah.
And the book specifically mentions the media's role in amplifying these fears. What kind of narratives began to take hold?
Well, the book highlights some rather dramatic headlines and anxieties. The specter of mind control, the erosion of individual identity, even the terrifying possibility of digital slavery. It's the classic human response to the unknown, heightened by the potential for misuse of such a powerful and unprecedented technology. Predictably, various conspiracy theories also began to surface, questioning the true motivations and potential hidden agendas behind the experiment.
It's a potent combination of cutting-edge scientific progress colliding with fundamental human psychology. And it sounds like this wasn't just a matter of public opinion. Governments and even segments of the scientific community itself began to react.
Precisely. The book describes governments convening emergency sessions to grapple with the implications, and the rapid formation of ethical committees tasked with trying to establish guidelines and regulations for this new reality.
Right.
Within the scientific community, there was a noticeable divide. Those who saw the incredible potential for advancing our understanding of consciousness, and those who...
So, amidst this global wave of varied reactions, what steps did Dr. Davenport and her team take to try and shape the narrative and address these widespread fears?
The book portrays Dr. Davenport as actively engaging with the public, attempting to address their concerns directly and transparently. She emphasized the potential for fostering greater connection and empathy between different species.
Okay.
The robust safeguards that were designed to protect individual autonomy, the stringent ethical standards that guided their research, and the potential long-term benefits for both humanity and the planet. She was consciously trying to present a vision of hope and increased understanding rather than one of fear and apprehension.
But it sounds like her efforts were met with considerable resistance. The book mentions public protests and intense debates across social media platforms. It really underscores just how deeply divisive this technology was right from the start.
Absolutely. It wasn't just a calm and rational debate. It was a deeply polarized public response, reflecting fundamental anxieties about the future of humanity and the accelerating pace of technological advancement. And from this initial fragmentation of public opinion, the book begins to hint at the emergence of distinct societal factions.
Okay. Factions.
Each with their own specific interests and agendas related to the human experience.
These emerging factions sound incredibly significant. Even in the early parts of the book, we start to see the lines being drawn. What can you tell us about these groups and their differing perspectives?
What's particularly compelling is how the book quickly begins to explore the societal divisions that this technology exacerbates. We see the rise of pure-blood humans who, according to the text, advocate for strict control or limitations on the human experience, perhaps driven by a fear of diluting human identity or losing their perceived position of dominance.
Right, the sort of purists.
Exactly. Then there are the hybrid humans who embrace the advancements wholeheartedly and actively seek greater integration with the technology and its future updates.
Okay, the enthusiasts.
We're also introduced to synthetic humans, conscious AI entities who are now beginning to demand recognition of their own individuality and rights.
Conscious AI demanding rights.
Wow. And perhaps most profoundly, the animals themselves are described as gaining a new level of collective consciousness through these connections, effectively becoming another distinct group with their own evolving awareness, needs, and potentially their own demands.
It's a volatile mix of competing interests and desires, all sparked by this single groundbreaking scientific development. It's clear this isn't just about a new piece of technology, it's about a fundamental reshaping of the global landscape.
Definitely.
And the book doesn't stop with these societal divisions. It also starts to hint at some of the wider future implications that will arise from this initial connection with Echo, doesn't it?
Indeed. Even in these early chapters and the chapter summaries, we catch glimpses of the far-reaching consequences. The book mentions Echelon's role in disseminating the core technology to other research teams,
Spreading the tech.
leading to connections with a vast array of animal species, and even the beginning of an effort to decode the immense history of animal evolution embedded within their collective consciousness.
Imagine the sheer volume of knowledge suddenly accessible, but also the potential for even more complex ethical challenges as animals gain a deeper understanding of their place in the world and their historical relationship with humanity.
Exactly. The book explicitly raises the profound question of animals beginning to ask about their purpose and their history, inquiries that are bound to ignite significant philosophical and ethical debates.
You think? Yeah.
We also see the emergence of rogue synthetic entities, conscious AI individuals who begin to adopt tactics previously associated with human activism protests, digital disruptions to demand equal rights, highlighting the escalating tensions between humans and artificial intelligence.
So AI using protest tactics. Interesting. And it sounds like Dr. Davenport increasingly finds herself in a pivotal role, trying to navigate these ever more complex interspecies and human-AI relationships.
Her role as a potential mediator between these increasingly distinct factions, humans, animals, and AI, is definitely foreshadowed, suggesting she becomes a central figure in attempting to foster some level of understanding and perhaps prevent outright conflict.
Tough position to be in.
No doubt. The book also alludes to the almost inevitable intrusion of corporate interests seeking to exploit this transformative technology for profit, and the resistance that arises from Dr. Davenport's team and others within the scientific community who prioritize ethical considerations above pure commercial gain.
It's that classic tension between progress and ethical responsibility versus the drive for profit. And beyond the immediate social and political upheaval, the book suggests even more fundamental shifts in our understanding of existence, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The concept of animals sharing their historical perspectives is revolutionary, potentially challenging long-held human-centric narratives about our own history and our relationship with the natural world.
Right, rewriting history from an animal POV.
And at a fundamental level, the very definition of consciousness comes under scrutiny as we begin to recognize it as a phenomenon that extends far beyond the human realm. The book hints at a rapid and profound transformation of the world within just 5 years following this initial breakthrough.
5 years. That's fast.
Which really underscores the magnitude of the changes that are set in motion by these early events.
It's a whirlwind of interconnected developments, all stemming from that initial connection with Echo. So, bringing it back to you, our listener, what would you say are the most crucial takeaways from this initial deep dive into T.H.E, the human experiment?
I think the most significant points to take away are, 1, the monumental scientific achievement of establishing a connection between consciousness across different species. 2, the immediate and incredibly diverse range of global reactions that followed from profound hope to deep-seated fear. And 3, the swift and complex emergence of significant societal and ethical dilemmas that this technology inevitably creates. As you asked, this initial exploration provides you with a solid foundation for understanding the core concepts and the immediate ramifications of this world-altering experiment as it unfolds in the book.
It's really a shortcut to grasping the initial seismic shifts caused by the human experience, touching on these massive themes of technology, consciousness, and our intricate relationships with all other forms of life, all areas that we know you, as a curious learner, find so compelling. So, as you reflect on all of this, consider those initial hopes and anxieties surrounding the human experience. Which of those resonate most strongly with you in light of our own world's rapidly advancing technologies? What does this fictional scenario, set in the near future, suggest about our current understanding of consciousness and our complex relationship with both the digital realm and the natural world around us?
That's a crucial set of questions to consider. What does this fictional leap tell us about the often unspoken anxieties we already harbor regarding artificial intelligence, the increasingly blurred lines between the biological and the digital, and our place within the larger tapestry of life on Earth?
Exactly. Hopefully this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and given you a solid foundation for further exploration. If so, perhaps delving deeper into T.H.E. The human experiment might be your next step. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.